From the 28-yard line of Auburn. Bama going left to right. Bryce gets the snap, knee high. Looks, throws the fade route, near side end zone. Got it! Caught! Touchdown, Alabama! Caught by Ja'Cory Brooks in the end zone.
And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
And Alabama has come from nowhere to defeat the Auburn Tigers in multiple overtimes.
Sweet 16, Tide and Tigers, episode 17. Chance, this has been a tournament, to say the least. I told you a lot of the heavy favorites were going to win. It seems like the NIL has changed all of that. Not 11 seed or higher in the Sweet 16. What are your thoughts on the tournament so far?
I mean,
you were so hyped up for the tournament. Now it's just
hyped up for the excitement of the underdog. You know, the Cinderella story.
You love playing
when Cinderella just gets abused every night. It's not a fun movie. It's not.
Yeah, when you sent me your underdog plays, I was like, ooh, that's not the greatest.
Hey, 2 years ago, I would have been a billionaire.
Yes.
The last year would have been 50-50. This year, 0.
Yes.
Like, I think I hit, actually, round one, I think I hit maybe 2, which made me even.
Yeah.
I think I lost $1 out of 100 bets that day.
Well, Colorado State was the only team that really had a chance. They got beat on a buzzer beater. But, man, yeah, the lackluster of this tournament with the upsets. But, again, I think you're going to get a lot of good games down the stretch, and that's what we want. So, but we'll start off with our headlines. Number one headline has to be SEC, 7 teams in the Sweet 16. Sweet, lucky number 7, one of your favorite numbers. Ole Miss, Auburn, Florida, Bama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky. Who was the most impressive to you?
Out of all those, Kentucky's still remaining. I think they've been very lackluster this season.
A very
good point, yeah. Compared to the rest of the SEC, though, that's still top 50 in the country.
Yes.
I think. So they surprised me still being able to remain. That's been my biggest thing.
Well, I think I got to first apologize to you.
I'm
sorry. I killed your Ole Miss play, and they're still in it, and they've played some really good basketball. They throttled Iowa State, and they beat North Carolina, who had all the momentum in the world going in after the first 4. But Arkansas has to be mine. They come out and they beat Kansas and a great coach Bill Self team, and then they also beat St. John's, who actually a lot of people had to win the national championship. Rick Pitino had that group on fire. They won the Big East. For Calipari to go beat him to advance the Sweet 16, Chance, that team started 0-5. And you remember how many times we talked about, they're going to get in the tournament, they need this to get in?
So,
I mean, they're in the Sweet 16. That's impressive by Calipari.
So something that I brought up was depth and having enough players on your bench that can be starters on another squad. Well, when you've got, like you brought up, the NIL era, depth is no longer a thing at small schools.
Yes.
You don't have freshmen and sophomores that are potential starters in the next year there because they're already starting somewhere else.
Yes.
And now you've got a bench that comes over for St. John's and can't keep up with the SEC power.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
So tell me this right here. There is a chance out of these 7 teams that 6 can make the Elite 8. How many of these SEC teams make the Elite 8?
What's the odds of it again? Sorry.
So the only 2 teams that play each other are Tennessee and Kentucky.
Let's see.
So there's actually 6 of the 7 that can make it, obviously, because Tennessee and Kentucky play each other.
Okay.
So how many out of the 7 are going to make the? Are you think it's going to be 6 of 8, 4 of 8, half the Elite 8? What do you think?
Got Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee. I see Texas Tech winning that against Arkansas. Okay. So that's the only reason I don't see Arkansas making it. I guess I got to say Ole Miss because I've got them in my bracket, but Ole Miss. So that's 5 out of 8.
5 out of 8. That's really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 4 out of 8.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Tennessee and Kentucky, obviously, there's going to be 1 out of there. I think Florida, Auburn, and Alabama. So I don't think Ole Miss is going to do it. I don't think Arkansas is going to do it. So I'm going to say half of the Elite 8. Which teams are going to make the Final Four? Do you still have, 3 of your Final 4 picks are still intact. You lost Wisconsin. I still have all 4 of mine. So I'm going to stick with the one. I think it's going to be Auburn and Florida are going to be the only 2 to advance to the Final Four. Yes, I have Auburn in Florida, so I have 2.
You don't have Tennessee going?
Don't have Tennessee, no.
Gotcha.
You've lost Wisconsin. You have Duke, Auburn, and Ole Miss. So I guess you're going to still stick with Auburn and Ole Miss?
Wisconsin was one of those Cinderella teams to make it further. I think they were, 8 or something?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that was just me trying to have a look thrown in. So, I don't really care about them.
Is there any chance we could have an all-SEC final?
No.
Okay.
I do not
think Duke's too good?
I think Duke or Houston is too good to have an all-SEC final.
All right. It's going to be incredible to watch. I mean, as much as we love SEC, to see 7 out of the 16, that's just incredible. Never been done. All right. I know going to the women's game, we haven't talked much about the women's tournament.
But Alabama's women's, man, they
lost.
They lost.
But Jay Parker's daughter scored 40-something points.
Set a record or something?
Yes.
Like, she was going off, draining threes from Curry distance type things. Like, that was a great game.
But the big story is coming out of L.A. Juju Watkins tears her ACL. The best player, I think, in college basketball this year. I think this is they said it was so sad in that stadium. This is the worst tournament injury, I think, since Kenyon Martin in Cincinnati when we were in middle school. I can't recall a player this good going down in the tournament. Auburn had one a couple years ago, and he ended up getting drafted by the Cavs the next year, Isaiah Okoro. But, I mean, you're an Auburn guy. You remember this happening, and that probably hurt Auburn for winning the national championship.
Yeah.
I know you hate seeing that, but golly, that's just...
injuries, period, are a terrible thing, especially ACLs that take months to come back from that you can't help your team later in the season. The reason I giggled when you said it at first, I didn't know where you were going with the story at first about her tearing her ACL. I just saw the name Juju Watkins. Did you see who plays the best defense in all of Washington?
Who?
Jalen Daniels' mom. They were sitting at a game together at USC.
Yes.
And she's right next to him talking and they're giggling. The next 10 minutes later, the camera cuts to him and you see his mom in between them cutting that off.
Wow.
Like, you are not going to talk to my son. He is not going to be your husband. Like, cutting that
So
off.
Juju lost Jaden Daniels and her ACL probably in a 24-hour span.
You know that would be a superstar family if they got together. So I'm sure they are, but she's a businesswoman.
Oh, she is. Oh, yes, she is.
So she's making sure that nothing interferes with his son, with her son's success.
Yeah, but like I said, you hate to see that. You had torn your ACLs. You hate to see that for Juju. But yeah, that was. You probably didn't know where I was going with that story because that was a headline.
And that caught me off guard, so I was giggling. But no, the ACL thing, terrible. Been through it too many times.
Yeah.
Good luck for her with the rehab. I know she'll be all right.
Yeah, she'll be back again next year. All right, we got to talk about Florida UConn. UConn had the streak, 14 wins in a row in the tournament. Florida had a similar run when they went back to back. The Gators are the team that ends UConn's three-peat request. I have to ask you, Dan Hurley, he's crazy. I mean, the way he acts and the things he says, obviously you heard about, did you hear about the end of the game?
Which part?
So he walks off the court, and while he's walking off, he tells Baylor, pretty much, I hope they don't F you like they F'd us.
Yes.
And then supposedly the guy who filmed that, he got a threat from one of the UConn staff members saying, I will ruin your career, which is actually illegal in the state of North Carolina where it happened to threaten somebody's career. But Dan, all game, every call that goes his way, he's falling on the floor, crying, yelling. There's one time a Florida guy stole it. It went off the guy's leg. It was a clear call. And I thought he was going to kill the ref. I'm like, does that take away from the team at all? I know there's been Bob Knights and people like that have been crazy.
So strong-arming anyone is illegal in every state.
Yes.
So that's what that is when you're trying to force someone to do something that they have the legal right to do.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely illegal for a UConn guy. He should be in trouble. But, I mean, as a coach...
He's a passionate coach.
Okay,
I'm a passionate coach.
So
I like that.
This is where the debate of, like, freedom of speech comes in. You have the freedom to say things, but you are a part of an organization that has rules and regulations. It's not a democracy.
Yeah.
It is you have a set rules and regulations in the NCAA. So if they decide to punish him, then he deserves it. But as a coach, you should be able to say what you want to say and not have fear of it having cameras everywhere on you. But if you do say something that gets you in trouble, that's your action.
Yeah. You saw Bill Murray's son is one of his assistants.
I'm not condemning him for it.
Yeah. Bill Murray's son's one of his assistants is coming up to him, talking to him, and he tells him to shut up.
Yeah.
Like, he's just nuts to me, man. Like,
there's a different level, too. Then there's that coach that pulled the girl's ponytail that got
I saw that, yeah.
Like, that is a level of disrespect and can't be allowed. But if you've got a coach that's saying, you effing need to do better or something like that, like just is passionate about it, I think you've got to find a little grace in there.
I don't ever see Dan Hurley really on his players. I see him motivating his players. It's more with the referees.
Which, again, that is a system that needs to be addressed through the NCAA.
Yeah.
Because you've got to allow the coaches to say what they need to, but not disrespect the people who are in charge of calling the game. Because then, if you start being that way, what do you expect the refs to do except for subliminally call penalties against you?
But I see Bruce Pearl, I see Nate Oates, I see Todd Golden for Florida. They all get on the refs too, so it's not about that. I've also seen him a couple times go back and forth with players. Like, I swear. He's
with the other team's
players.
Yeah.
You're a 2-time defending national champion. I think he should show a little bit more class. He's won. This is going to end bad for him at some point. He's already been thrown out of a game before and things like that. I think he should handle a lot better being and done what he's done. But it was almost like the spoiled little kid finally getting sent home. And then he shows himself in the hallway saying, I hope they don't, it was good riddance for me. And I'm glad Florida knocked him out. But I don't know. I just don't like that so much for Dan Hurley. So, all right, next thing I want to talk about. This, to me, is becoming an ongoing issue that I've never. We're going to skip 4 and go to 5 here. LeBron just came back this week. He's on the McAfee show right now.
Yeah.
Jokic, Curry, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum as of 2 days ago, Embiid, Kyrie, Ja Morant, Damian Lillard, Zion, Jalen Brunson, Paul George, Brad Beal, Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox. None of these guys play in the NBA right now. That's like half of the top scorers. This product
and they're still getting paid.
This product is doing this. And what is going on?
I would say
this doesn't happen in any other sport, Chance.
Well, think about it. So, in every other sport, you've got at least a roster of 20 players.
Yes.
In every sport. Even hockey, I believe, has like practice squads and all that.
Yeah.
So, basketball has a total of 12?
Yeah.
So, you've got 12 players who can pretty much become a union on that team and say, hey, this is a business to us. It's a business to them. So, if we want to make more money and do things our way, fake injuries, be out. We don't want to play 100 games a season.
Yeah.
So we're going to do what we want to do and still get our money. And I think that's what this is a business decision by a lot of these guys.
Well, and if you'll look to, Chance, and you can pull it up right now, the NBA standings, that to me I think is a huge issue as well. Not even the games.
The Celtics are second now. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, but the Cavs had like 2 15-game winning streaks, but now you got 16 teams that make the playoffs. And then they
what are the Knicks doing up there?
go to ESPN real quick, Chance.
Okay.
If you go to ESPN right here and go to NBA and go to standings right there.
Okay.
Shout out to ESPN. Appreciate you providing this. So you'll go down. All right. So 6 teams are guaranteed to make the playoffs. All right.
Okay.
Then the next 4 get a chance to play in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
So you got 20 teams are guaranteed. So that means only 10 teams will not make the playoffs or get a chance at the playoffs. So it's like, what's the point of even? What's the point of even playing a regular season if you got 75% of the league's going to make the playoffs?
I guess in that aspect too, if you're a team, once you've gotten past, I'd say 30 wins, start sitting all your stars.
Yeah.
Because you can't get knocked out at that point. You're already over the.
Well, I'm saying like we don't want to play in the play-in. Well, that to me, I feel like a lot of teams that have played in that play-in game, you actually get 2 shots to lose. But they actually get more momentum going into the playoffs.
Because they've been warming up, playing games, as long as they don't get injured.
It's a sad situation. And again, it's more like the playoffs are all that matter. And if everybody gets in, what's the point of even trying hard to get in? I mean, and everybody else in the bottom is saying, oh, we got Cooper Flagg and all these guys coming up from Duke. We'll just suck it up to get the first pick in the draft. But my question to you is if you're with Journey or I'm with Carter, Gray, Everett, all the kids I got, Bo, and I'm going to a game and I could travel to see Steph Curry and he doesn't play.
Yeah. We talked about this last week. Yeah.
I see so-and-so, so-and-so. That's why I think that's going to circle back and the ratings are going to go down because these kids are going to start being like, we went on the game and we didn't even see our best player.
Yeah,
Jordan always said
fill the seats. It's a problem.
And Jordan always said, man, I wanted to make sure because it could have been somebody's only time to ever see me play. That's not the same attitude these guys have.
No.
And playoff tickets are a lot more than regular season tickets. So I don't know. NBA's got a major issue and they need to fix it.
Well, okay, so I also would say that's not the attitude a lot of these guys have in a lot of sports these days anymore, but something that's changed that is fans having direct contact to a lot of these players through social media
Yeah.
and all that, and being able to post a video that gets 1 million likes from random people around the world, and then he just happens to see it while he's off from practice, like LeBron or somebody, that gives those players a little animosity towards fans where they're like, they don't respect me. What do I care what they do? So, or what do they care what I do? So I think that kind of changed things a lot where the fans got more interactive with the players instead of it being like the players thinking the fans all love them and respect them in the crowd and you're doing the Lambeau leap. But now it's just a lot more interaction that shouldn't be there.
Well, and I will say this too. You can hear more at a basketball game than you can hear at any sport.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They say stuff to the players all the time and the players respond.
Football? The coach, can you ever hear what a coach says in a football game?
You can barely hear the sideline, so you can barely hear what someone in the crowd says.
We'd be like 10 rows back at a basketball game we've been for. You can hear every word they're saying. So you can hear the fans, and people got bets, and people got this and this and that. So I think that's a great point, Chance, that like the interaction with the players are like, screw these people now. You know, it's like...
And the betting obviously throwing that in. Like, you lost me this parlay. Like, no, you made the wrong pick.
Yeah.
You can claim everything's rigged, but... Now I will say that one player was R or something that is running around just turning the ball over and is already under investigations for Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, now I think he really is tossing games and stuff and might be involved with some money scam stuff. But other times, like LeBron, no, he wants to be the highest paid player in the NBA. He's going to do the best he can. If he misses 20 shots in a game, it's because he had an off night.
Well, and that's what they actually said. I read some stories about it. Is that when these guys would go gamble in these casinos and they'd get so down. They would, and they couldn't be able to pay it. They'd have them start fixing games.
Now that was
before the internet and before all that kind of stuff. But I believe that was actually true.
It very much was true, especially with the Pete Rose era and all that. Like the mob ran Vegas. It still does, but not as illegally, criminally done. But people loved going to Vegas back then, and money was not as creative as it is now. Where you can have Bitcoin, you can have this. You can just say if you're a celebrity sports star and you owe a casino $100,000 and you can't pay it. Well, you can call up your agent and say, "Hey, I need to do a dumb deal with Sprint, or AT&T. Give me them for $200,000 so I can pay this debt off." Like, there's so many ways to change that these days that you couldn't do back then.
Yeah,
it's not as prevalent now.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, you got two more things: Winston, Jameis, Russell Wilson, both on the Giants. Still no word on Rodgers. You think that's good for the Giants? Do they still draft a quarterback now they got Jameis and Russell?
I think that's awesome. So I was going to I already got those pictures for the site to be added, so that's perfect. We talked about what Pittsburgh was going to do.
Yeah.
And I said they were not going to keep Russell. I was right about that.
Yeah.
Now I want to be right about them picking up Rodgers.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the move for Pittsburgh. I think the Giants, with Jameis and with Russell, are set. They're obviously going to draft QB out of their draft, but it's going to be somebody...
They have a high draft pick. I mean,
that needs to go defense. They need to build their defense up more or get a better running back because you gave up Saquon. One of those two aspects.
They got the receivers. Neighbors is a monster. Let me tell you this right here. I think it's crazy is that now the Steelers have given up both quarterbacks.
Yes. So, but they...
And they don't have, like, a young guy that, like, you know, the Vikings have given up Sam Darnold and having McCarthy from Michigan. So I think it's Rodgers. The all-in stake is for Rodgers to Pittsburgh.
It's got to be. And then you draft somebody and say, Rodgers, this is your final statement.
Now, look real quick at the draft, the NFL draft, and see where their pick is. Because I don't think it's an early pick. DraftCast. Just go to DraftCast right there. So I'm pretty sure. Actually, you can just go to rounds. I'm sorry, Chance. That's what I thought. So their pick is.
Third.
Yeah, Giants is third. That's what I'm saying.
But then they've also got
Pittsburgh's not till 21st.
Okay.
So again, what quality of a quarterback that can start in the league is going to get in the 21st pick of the draft? I don't think that happens.
But round 2, they're second. So I think they get a way better.
You're talking about the Giants. I'm talking about Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. My bad.
So Pittsburgh gets rid of both their quarterbacks, and they have the 21st pick in the draft. You're not going to get a starter right there.
Yeah.
But the Giants could get one, and yet they still go get two guys.
Yes.
Who do you like to win that battle, Winston or Wilson?
I think Wilson's going to start off as the starter. I think something's going to go down throughout the season where he has a bad game, and they say Winston step in, and Winston wins it. Or an injury happens, and Winston comes in and has to do what Winston does best. Be a saving quarterback as a backup. I don't think
that ride only lasts like 2 weeks every time. It's like 2 weeks and then it's back to, you know.
And the hype always goes up for him, and I love seeing it. I love Winston's attitude and everything. But then when he starts throwing 5 touchdowns but 4 interceptions in a game, it's still great, but that's giving the other team the opportunity to win. And that's where Pittsburgh's going to have to say, we need Russell to be the starter.
600 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of good. But,
and he can see the other team now.
All right, last thing on the headlines. Basketball portal opens up in the middle of the tournament, March 24th.
How many players did they say? Like 70 something or?
Chance, we talked about this in football. Football did that before the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just push it back 4 weeks? And wait till the tournament's over. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They make it so hard for these coaches, and that's what Calipari said. He was like, you're making. I'm all about the players. I'm all about doing best for the players, but they're making it harder and harder to be that way. When you're saying in the
more than 1,000 have entered since 3 hours ago. More than 1,000.
And some people, there's a guy on Michigan's Sweet 16, Scottie Pippen's son, that's already entered.
Yeah. So there's a coach that I think it was might have been Indiana's or somebody's like that. They said it's real sad that we've got players we either have to go in and play a new game now after this whole tournament's been over, and we've got to convince them to either stay or convince them we're all for them leaving and going somewhere else. We've got to play that game now, and then we have to hope we can get some scholarship players that might deserve scholarships, but we've also got to get transfer players in, so we might not be able to give these scholarship players
I'm telling you this right
scholarships.
Here. Todd Golden at Florida and Rick Pitino at St. John's, they're not recruiting any high school kids.
And that's terrible.
Terrible, man.
You're going to send all these kids to a European league or a Chinese league or something and send them overseas because they can't play in college now. Because they're not going to be able to stick around and go to a St. John's or somewhere because they're also getting transfers.
Well, you look at Florida's starting backcourt right now. Clayton Jr. from Iona, played for Pitino. Martin was part of that Florida Atlantic team that made the Final Four. So, Mike, also in your mind as a coach, you're thinking, I can go get a guy who's proven that he's done it in college or get some high school kid that may be a bust.
So you can say that, I can go get somebody that's proven, but you can't guarantee that you're going to get him. You have to hope the money's there. You have to hope all the deals there, and you've got to battle it out with other schools instead of just being a coach and developing young men like the sport's intended to do.
And I'm with you on that. But again, when it comes to competitive and comes to winning, it does seem like a lot of these kids that come from these small schools that are really good there end up being really good. Auburn's got a few of them that end up being really good at the other school because they're proven that they can, get buckets or it's just.
I mean, could you imagine if when J.J. Redick was playing, if they would have just been able to be like, hey, we want other players to come here from USC and all those schools, they would have been unstoppable. They already were unstoppable, but imagine just being able to pay it that way.
Well, and again, that's why I think it doesn't favor the underdog anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, great headlines. I will say we'll go over a little recap of the past weekend. Just one thing a day. Thursday, McNeese beat Clemson. The manager gets a ton of NIL deals, even from Buffalo Wild Wings,
or
some of the speaker.
He's killing it. He got 6 figures plus in all the NIL deals.
We saw the new speakers had the Buffaloes on the Buffalo Wild Wings.
So I mean that's awesome that they're doing things for people outside of just players, but it's also I wonder how big the ego is going to get for something like that. Because now you got other people who are managers who are just going to do things for the clout.
But here's what I thought. They have that happen. The manager gets the deal before the second round game, and then the coach is already going to North Carolina State. They lost the second round game. I think it was too many distractions for them.
It's a lot of distractions, and the players were in with him. Like they were out there jamming with him and stuff. So I think it was a lot of distractions for a very small program. And you could ask 99% of the U.S. population, hey, where's McNeese State at?
No clue. My brother went there. It's in Louisiana. I knew.
So, I would have said New Jersey or something. People don't know.
We already covered Colorado State. They beat Memphis. That was one of the few teams that was going to make a bracket bust, but they lose on the buzzer beater to Maryland. Pitino loses to Cal on Saturday. We talked about it, and that was a huge win for Cal. But Pitino, man, to be so high up and have such a great team and go out before the first weekend, that was crazy to me. And then Ole Miss is the only lower seed to win on Sunday.
That was crazy.
So all Sunday, every one of the higher seeds won besides Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And you called it. I gave you crap. Again, I apologize.
Yeah, but we've got Mr. 3,000 out of 24 million brackets on ESPN's.
But you have to clarify.
Group.
My bracket on our group is my main bracket, and it is not that. But I did do another bracket, and it was an SEC bracket. It was a hometown, and it is ranked 3,000 out of 24 million. I think that's pretty good.
That's very good. It's very impressive.
And it's still a lot. I still have 7 of 8 teams can make the Elite Eight. I think St. John's is the only one that I don't have in the Elite Eight. So.
It's funny. The older I've gotten, it's the same with fantasy football stuff like that. When it comes to making brackets, I'm just too lazy to make 10 brackets and submit to all of them. I just make 1, maybe 2 at the most if I feel questionable about my picks last year. But I submit those to all of them, and I just pray I'm lucky. But
My main bracket
props for being able to put like 5 together and still feel confident.
But my main bracket was not. But that one bracket is a pretty special bracket here. So headlines. It was a crazy weekend of favorites winning.
Well,
just like
I was going to say, was it or was it March Midness? Like very mid.
I like that March Midness right there.
Well, I stole that from Daily Show.
Oh, golly.